Disappointed, aren't you? Don't you worry. We've got Dinesh Karthik and Harsha Bogle to make some sense of what's just happened. They'll make sure the next 20 minutes at least are worth the time that you will spend watching cricbuzzs live. Well, the match has been called off. It was going to be a tricky chase or a tricky performance from an India perspective. Only 266 on the board. No play possible, unfortunately, with so much rain coming down. It is frustrating for players as well as for us fans.
Anticlimactic. We all expected the build-up and the fact that there would be a result, because there's a lot to look forward to from both teams, more so from India's point of view. They haven't been playing so much ODI cricket, and then it ends up in the dull, damp squib, which I'm very used to. These days, there's a lot of matches which are being called off, where I was at least. So it just feels like we all knew at the back of the mind that rain could always play a part, and in Sri Lanka, when it does rain, it pours. So true to its saying, it was another day where it got rained off.
It'll be frustrating for the selectors as well, Harsha, because they would have been looking for some answers from the Indian bowling perspective, but I suppose they'll have to wait a little more.
Look, Bumrah is always going to be in. Pandya is always going to be in. Jadeja is always going to be in. Kuldeep's always going to be in. The one player they would have wanted to look at was Shardul, because I think Shardul has a point to prove, but there's nothing you can do here. I mean, what was interesting was while it was raining, we were starting to think, okay, what is Duckworth Lewis turn saying? At 36 overs was 226 or something like that, which seemed a tricky score. Then a 20-over game target was 155. You get 20 overs, 155. So I think at that point, Pakistan were ahead, 20 overs, 155. But these things happen. When you play a tournament in Sri Lanka at this time of the year, you should expect some rain.
Do you like DLS?
It is the fairest system of all the systems that are there. There hasn't been a fairer system than DLS. It took a long time to become good over 20 overs. It took a long time to become good over 50 overs, let's be honest, but it was better than every other system at the time. Then it got refined. It became a good 50-over system. It was way off the 20 overs. I mean, if you remember, in the 2009 World Cup that was played in England, it was delivering sort of average run rate scores. So if a team made 180 in 20 overs, the 10-over target was 90 with 10 wickets in hand. So it started delivering those scores because of an inherent flaw. But then as more and more T20 games started to play, the target started to get a little bit more refined. So Duckworth Lewis turn, its only rival was a system that is used in India, which is the Vijay method. But I don't think India pushed hard enough for it to be recognized. There was a time when it was delivering better results than Duckworth Lewis turn.
Some say that cricket's already a complicated sport. Are things like DLS further complicating it for newer countries to embrace the sport?
Easier. I think Duckworth Lewis turn makes it easier. Duckworth Lewis turn makes it a lot fairer. Because otherwise, for a long time, if you look at the history of how rain affected matches, how targets were set, there was a time when if you made 250 in 50 overs, your run rate was 5. So they said, okay, 5 runs an over, you play 20 overs, go and make 100 runs to win. Then, if you had that farcical rule in the 1992 World Cup, where you said you will take out the least scoring block of overs. So that is how you needed 22 or 1 over. So if you made 250 in 50 overs, but there was a block of 3 overs in between in which only 1 run was scored, then your target out of 47 overs became 249. And that was a rule that was devised by one of the most respected names in the game. So we discovered after a while that if you're a cricketer, you're very good at playing the game, very good at understanding the technical faults, but you're not always a great mathematician. So let's leave that to the mathematicians who then came up with a target. A lot of people couldn't come to terms with the fact that if you're chasing a score, you have to score more than the other team scored. So if you made 250, my target was 273. And they said, how can I score more than you? But it also includes fairness in it, in that when you started to score, suppose a team made 250 in 48 overs or so, but they started off assuming it was going to be a 50-over game, and it got rained off after 36. So they lost their 14 most productive overs. So if you come back to making it a 36-over game, then the team that is batting second cannot start on the assumption that they're only playing 36. So if after 36 overs you're 200, the algorithm will calculate how much you would have scored if you had 50 overs available to you given the overs that you had lost, and then work out the 36-over target back, which is, it's only fair that that target therefore is more than what the other team has scored, because you have 10 wickets in hand and you're starting with 36 overs. So the mathematical thought behind that wasn't difficult. It was just the equations that put in to arrive at the numbers that that people took time to get used to.
Someday, I hope to watch a conversation between the two Bhogle brothers, because I know that this is a subject that they...
No, my brother called me up one day and he said, if someone else doesn't understand it, that's okay. But you studied mathematics. If you don't understand it, I'll be very disappointed.
Let's send a clip of this conversation to him.
No, he will find faults in this also.
All right, moving on. DK, give us a captain's or a player's perspective, because it does sound very complicated. Would players have it differently, or are they okay with it? Have they accepted it?
It is only complicated if you try and comprehend and try and figure out what the formula is.
Correct.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's up to the match referees will come and tell you this is the score, and it's an accepted norm. And I think, by and large, it's very well accepted, well received, because from what they've seen over a period of time, they feel there's a lot of fairness to it. It's fascinating to hear Harsha speak about how it came about, but definitely the DLS method and the VJD method are two very good methods.
Right, let's quickly look back at what happened in the first innings. India batting first were in a bit of a tricky spot at 48 for 3, and then you saw that 138 partnership between Ishan Kishan coming in at number 5 for the first time in his career. Hardik Pandya pressed the reset button, a couple of 80s from them, a few lusty blows from Jasprit Bumrah as well. Jadeja scored 14, only 267 for Pakistan to chase, but unfortunately the rain came in and it poured and there was no play possible. So this match has been called off. The Asia Cup action continues tomorrow. It will be Bangladesh versus Afghanistan. We'll get a first look at